What's going on, everyone? Between the Dots, back for 2024. You guys are looking lovely today. How's it going?
Doing all right,
Doing
fellas.
good.
How are you, Rory?
I'm good. Good, yeah. Excited to get back into things. Had a nice Christmas break. Had a little vacation. Saw the family. So, yeah, it was good. Excited to get back into it. Obviously, not excited about how the Sens have been performing, but, yeah, all in all, just, excited to be back.
Got a little bit of a tan going there.
Yeah, maybe it's the lighting. I don't know, but it could have been from the vacation. Who knows? Yeah. Oh, that's yeah, it was fun though. It was a good time off, but back into things here, and we got a full schedule today to go over. Starting off with Nylander and the Leafs. We're also going to be talking about our preseason predictions. We're going to be talking about World Juniors, along with the NHL All-Star selections. We'll be going over that, talking about a few other things as well on tap. It's going to be a good episode. Thanks for joining. We're live on YouTube every Wednesday at 6:30, and then our episodes are on Spotify and Apple Podcasts after that. So yeah, why don't we kick things off with the big news over the past week, which was the Nylander signing.
All right, I'm the Leafs fan, so you guys give it to me first. What you think? Because I'll be a little biased, but I want to hear the opinion. We'll start with you, Rory.
I'm surprised that he signed. I thought that he'd be one to test free agency just to see what's out there. Talking about it a little bit before the show, but yeah, like, could he have really got more? Do you think he could have got more than 11 and a half? And then if you think no, then if he is really just trying to go for the most dollars possible, then he's wanting that 8th year. So I think that he just came to the conclusion that it was the best deal that he was going to get.
Yeah, in terms of the deal, I liked it. I think he's going to get that deal kind of wherever he goes with how he's been performing this year and last year. So good for him for making that. And if you're the Leafs, like, that's a lot of money tied up in 4 guys. But at the same time, like, they're getting you to the playoffs every year. And if there's anything that the past month has taught me, is that you can't take making playoffs for granted, because you could strip it all down and then have 6 or 7 years where you don't make playoffs anymore because you have guys that don't get it done. So, like, these guys get you to playoffs every year, and, like, maybe they'll have one of these years a Cinderella run like the Habs did, and they can make it to the Cup Finals, and, wouldn't that be nice? Say, Kijo?
I love how you're comparing them to the Habs. That's great. A little Cinderella run.
Well, that's what they need,
yeah.
because, yeah.
I'll get out of here. I don't know. Yeah, I was personally, like, with the cap going to go up and he's doing as well as he's doing, like, you can't really expect it to be much less. I was kind of agreeing with you there, Rory. Like, why didn't he test free agency? He must like Toronto, and he's, like, I think I mentioned this before, but the perfect kind of player to be in Toronto. He just, like, he gets all these questions from the media, and he just kind of laughs and shakes it off, and I don't think it really affects him too much. But being paid, like, that much, if you go to Florida, let's say, like, we know how Matthew Tkachuk just signed for less than that, and they pay less taxes, and you're in Canada, and there's just a couple other differences that go into all these contracts that I'm sure all these agents talk about with everyone, and the fact that Nylander's dad is an agent too or something. I was listening to that, and he played into it a lot, wanting to get the most, and to stay in Toronto as a Leafs fan. I know it's going to take up a good amount of the cap, but I love watching Nylander every night. Saw him live last night, and he was looking fresh out there on the ice with the new deal. So I'm happy he's signed for 8.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. You're going to have Tavares, who isn't on the books for $11 million after next year. So that's going to free up some room there. Marner's going to need a new contract next year, so who knows what you might be able to negotiate him for. and you could also just let him walk if things don't work out, and then that opens up some more space to sign guys elsewhere. You get Bertuzzi off the books at the end of this year. Max Domi's off the books at the end of this year, and along with other guys like Brody. Liljegren's going to need a new contract, so he might want a little bit more. But all in all, like, Samsonov's going to be off the books too. So it's, to me, that's a good signing.
The thing is, like, you still have to replace all those people with NHL, like actual NHL rosterable players too. So it'll be tricky, but I think that Nylander definitely deserves it, I guess, to sum it up. Not that he's just trying to chase money. Like, the way he's played, like, he definitely deserves it. He's improved every year, and he's been, like, a reliable playoff performer, too. So, I mean...
Just get a bunch of Cal Yarncroaks in there.
Guys.
I was going to say, give me 6 Noah Gregors. Last night, watching the Leafs play the Sharks and knowing that Gregor didn't play because he had the flu or something, but knowing that the Sharks didn't offer Noah Gregor a contract to me is wild. Like, anytime I've been to an NHL game and I've watched, like, any team, it's always going to be a good game. Like, I think the blowouts are kind of random. Like, sometimes the bad teams beat the good teams and vice versa. But last night, from warm-up on, I knew that the Leafs were going to smash the Sharks. I'm looking like, who's this guy? Who's this guy? Who's that? Like, looking all, like, who are these guys that are playing for the Sharks? Like, they're just, I don't know. They had an awful start, and Leafs on home ice after a road trip. Like, you think that might be a game sometimes where the home team doesn't come out that strong. But they were like, I saw a stat. It was like the Sharks had possession in the Leafs zone like just over 3 minutes out of 60, which is horrendous.
That's what it's like when I play a game of Chell and against a computer, and I'm just in there and the whole game.
Okay.
No, San Jose is brutal. Yeah, and we predicted that too. We're gonna get into our predictions in a bit, but just more on that Nylander deal. He's gonna be 35 by the time that ends, so he's gonna be the Leaf for life too, pretty much, which is pretty cool. I like that deal for Toronto, and they're getting to the playoffs every year, and if you make the playoffs, anything can kind of happen. So whether or not how they stack up against better teams this year, like maybe like Boston, it's hard to say. As well as like Florida too. Florida's looking solid. How they stack up against them, we'll see in a playoff series. But at least they're getting there, and certainly you can't take that for granted. So I like that deal with bringing Nylander back, and he's always performed come playoff time as well too. So he's not part of the problem, that's for sure. So, do you see that clip too of have you ever seen that clip of Don Cherry when the Leafs drafted Nylander?
Yeah.
He comes
Pass on a guy, Nick Ritchie. Oh my.
Yeah.
6'3", 220.
Yeah.
It's like, or 230, whatever he says, and oh my.
He just goes on hyping up Nick Ritchie and like, we took the little guy. We took the little guy and we sent him back to Sweden to save his life.
Not going to say his name. Went back to Sweden.
I would love to hear one coach's corner. Just one more coach's corner this year. Just hear some takes.
Yeah.
It'd be great.
That one was a bad one. But Nick Ritchie.
I love that in the video, too, it's like the meme or whatever. It's just videos of Nylander laughing at the end, like separate clips of him laughing and Don Cherry saying that. Like,
yeah,
I love Don Cherry, not gonna lie, but that's got to be one of the worst.
Mm-hmm. That did not age well. That did not age well. No, so yeah, good, and it's full no move clause too, the Nylander deal. So he's in Toronto for a while. So you guys got 4 guys now next year, 4 guys that are making over $10 million, which is
one thing that you mentioned with that Tavares contract almost done. That is a sign of time's flying. Honestly, it doesn't feel like it was that long ago. You said 2 more years? 2 years left?
This year and next year.
Yep. That is crazy. That's crazy that deal's almost done already.
Mm-hmm.
I remember exactly where I was when John Tavares signed that contract too. And just thinking, like, it is true. It felt like yesterday or last summer he signed that. And I was so pumped for that. And it's honestly like people say he's slow and he's obviously not the best skater. He never has been, but he's still putting up points. Can't go without mentioning the fact that the Leafs scored 7 last night and he didn't get a single point. But for the most part, he's putting up points, still being productive, good captain. I don't know. By the end of next year, what does a contract look like for him in 25, 26? What do you guys think?
I'm thinking like maybe 8 million around there for short term, like maybe 2-3 years, 8 or 9 million.
How
Like
old is he going to be?
He's 33 right now, so
Okay.
So he'll be the age Nylander is when he's done his contract.
yeah, I'm thinking a little bit of a pay cut, but he's certainly still going to get paid.
I wonder if they have the Alfie discussion with him. That you take the biggest pay cut that anyone would have ever seen just for a few years, just so we could get some other studs on this team to try and win a cup. And he might be on board. He's never won a cup.
I hope he would be on board, man. Like
he seems like the kind of guy who would
like take 6,
right?
just take 6 mil,
take a
5
fat
mil.
discount.
Yeah, 6 mil maybe.
or just sign for 1 year at $3 million. Just really try to help him out and try to win a cup. Like you could.
Do you see a situation where he like walks, where he goes somewhere else?
That's what I was gonna say. Like that's an awkward one because if they're like, "All right, John, like you've been a great captain for us. We want you back for another season, but we want you at $5 million," and he goes, "Whoa, like I'm a $9 million player all day long," and then it's just like, how do they keep those relationships and those things from happening when it's if they want to go one way and they obviously I know every team wants to win a Stanley Cup, but you kind of think you could look at it, well, he deserves this much, but if he really wants to win a cup, does he take a pay cut? I don't know. That's a tough one.
Yeah, and you say, "Okay, John." You say, "Okay, John." You make Willie Nylander captain.
Oh yeah, the C on Nylander's jersey. That would be nice.
Yeah.
I think as like a player like that testing free agency, and you're at that stage where you want to win a cup, you're probably not going to make as much as you probably think that you deserve at that age. Like,
yeah,
because you're trying to go to a contender, and contenders are at the cap, right? So,
well, he's
you're
going to try to
fit
make
into somebody's system.
He's going to try to make comparisons too for what he can deserve, and like one that jumps to mind to my mind right away is Giroux, and he's making like six and a half, and then that was a short 3-year deal. You could make the argument that that's something that Tavares you can try to negotiate for him as well. So, all in all, with Nylander though, I like that deal, and I think that's it's good that you kept him in Toronto because he's been performing, and you certainly don't want to let him walk and then have to face him night in, night out. That would just be, that's not fun. And yeah, you guys are in a playoff spot. You're making playoffs, and you get there, anything can happen. So it's just about finding the right pieces around those guys, and we'll see if they can manage that maybe this year.
Yeah, I might have to get a fresh 88 sweater, but I was looking at in the Leaf shop last night. And definitely won't be buying it there.
Yeah. So what we're going to do now is kind of revisit our predictions from earlier this year. So see how we did. I know I have done poorly on a few, including my hot take of the Sens making the playoffs. So why don't we start there?
What do you want to see the rest of the year? Do you want them to just tank and get like Celebrini, for example? I can't see you actually cheering for them to lose, though.
There's no point
I
in
feel like
tanking.
you're still like a hopeful guy and like, push for that second wild card.
There's no point.
I can see it because Felix and I have had this conversation for the last 2 years.
Well, there's basically a 1% chance that they're going to make playoffs unless they go on some sort of a Hamburglar run, and Korpisalo can turn into Martin Brodeur in his prime. So, barring that happening, it's looking like Sens aren't going to make playoffs. And in terms of tanking, there's no real point because even if you come dead last, there's only a 25% chance you're going to get the first overall pick anyways. So you come like fourth or fifth last.
Yeah. So you get Celebrini or Yzerman, and then it's like, all right, great. You got 2 great centermen.
I guess that's the difference.
Norris for a defenseman or a goalie or something.
Right.
Then you have more freedom to move pieces around. Like, for me, the last place I want to be is 13th, picking 13th.
Well, they're in an
Either be
awkward
second wild card or top 5.
they're in an awkward place right now
Playoffs.
because they can't strip it down completely because if they strip it down this year and they tank this year, they don't have a first round pick next year because of the Dadonov scandal.
Right.
So we can't just strip it down bad enough that we're going to be terrible next year as well. We have to keep some guys around that might help us be competitive next year to make a jump. But
Well, yeah, you don't tear anything down. You hope that this was an anomaly year where they're just way worse than everyone expected them to be, and they bounce back.
just
But
a waste.
I saw that
Yeah.
Chychrun's been getting. What's the deal there? Why is Chychrun's name getting talked?
Because
Out a
teams
lot.
teams are asking about him, and Ottawa has said nobody's off limits at this point, which makes
Yeah,
sense.
fair.
Like you're dead last in the East, so why should anybody be off limits? So Chychrun was a name that teams were inquiring about, and he's still got 1 year left on his deal after this year at 4.6 million. So he's a guy that you could keep, but then it's tough to say, right? Like.
I think you got to trade him. You got to. He'll be. Give it a few more weeks or whatever, closer to the deadline. But he's a guy that I think you can get the most for, and you're not gonna. You're not gonna lose out on it. Yeah, he's a good player, great defenseman, and he puts up points. But he could be what a team needs to push them over the edge. To
You'd get a ton. You'd get a ton
Oh, yeah.
for him. You'd get a
they
ton
get more
for
than what they
Giroux.
paid?
Yeah, probably. Like they gave up a first
feel
and
like
a
they have
second,
to.
so it's you could almost ask for like 2 firsts back because
That's
this is
true.
a guy who's under
Fleece.
contract for another year.
They did
So-
kind of fleece Arizona on that trade.
Yeah, I don't know how they managed that. In all the mock trades I had, it was a lot more for Chychrun, but hey, it's not like it's worked
rare
out for them.
Sens
so-
W.
Rare Sens win. They don't get him on the ice, so they might as well try to get him in trades. But anyways, let's revisit the standings here. So my predictions for the East, real quick, were I had Toronto first, Tampa second, Buffalo third in the Atlantic, and then in the Metro I had Carolina Rangers, and then Jersey. In terms of my accuracy, the Rangers are first, Carolina's second, and Philly is third. So Rangers and Canes were solid. As for the East, I missed big on a few things. Just kind of like the most obvious ones, I had Ottawa in a wild card spot. They're obviously not there. Pittsburgh's hanging around a wild card spot, so that could still happen. I had Boston missing the playoffs, which clearly they're in first. I had Florida missing the playoffs, and they're in second. So a couple big misses on my parts. I had Philly dead last, and Philly's in a playoff spot. So I mean, some
That was a
huge
tough one, though.
surprises.
Couldn't expect that.
Yeah,
No,
that's a surprise.
yeah,
I think I had them last too. So
yeah. Well, why don't we take a look? So this is your predictions here, Roy, for the East. You had Tampa, or excuse you had Toronto, Tampa, and Boston all in the playoffs, and you also, you had Philly last.
yeah, so I'm missing with that Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
Buffalo and the Florida are my big misses so far. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Pittsburgh's still hanging around. You had Jersey in first, and they're out of the playoffs currently. In
they'll
a
be
while,
okay. No, I'm not.
They
Even
can turn.
I'm not worried.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about that.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, like just outside the wild card, though, it's crazy that teams 9 through 12, I think, or 9 through 13 are tied for points.
Yeah.
How
Like-
that is crazy.
Devils,
It's so
Capitals,
close.
Penguins, and Detroit Red Wings all in the hunt right now. So
That's what you want, though, because I think this time last year it was already decided pretty much. We knew who was in and who was out.
yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Falk still thought the Sens had a chance, but other than
And a 1% chance.
that,
Chance is a chance. Here's your predictions up now, Kijo. You did fairly well, I'd say.
yeah, I think I did all right. The odd one that we all had is the Flyers, except I didn't have them dead last, so that's all right. I had Florida in. Looks like I got that one correct as of now because they're in second, the Atlantic. Toronto first, they're third. That's not bad. And then Tampa currently in the second wildcard spot. I had them third. Ours were all pretty similar. But yeah, no, it looked somewhat accurate. So I didn't embarrass myself. So that's good.
Yeah, yeah. kudos to Rory. You had the Sens the lowest out of any of us. You had them at 13th, and they're dead last now.
I wasn't buying what you were preaching.
Kijo, you had the Flyers the highest out of all of us, but you still had them third last in the East. Shocking how good they've been so far. Like, I can't believe how good Philly's been. Torts is running a great system, and they just picked up Drysdale too, an NHL ready defenseman who we'll chat more about later as well.
That has to be a systems thing, right? That's got to be like all Torts, because the team's not any different.
It's just guys buying in, systems.
They
guys
don't
buying
have
in.
like any superstars. Yeah, it's just the team's buying in.
Yeah. So, all in all, like we're still waiting on, I guess, like New Jersey to pick it up a little bit, make their kind of our playoff predictions seem a little bit closer. Pittsburgh as well, but overall, it's looking a lot similar, other than the Flyers, to last year's playoffs as well, which is crazy. I thought there would have been a little bit of movement this year because I had Buffalo in there, I had Ottawa in there, and both those teams are. I think I'm probably the furthest off out of anyone here, because I had Buffalo and I had Ottawa in my playoffs. I had Buffalo finishing third, and they're in third last. So that's a rough look. But we take a look
All right, you still got the West.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll take a look at the West. I did a little bit better there. I had Edmonton in first. I had Vegas second, LA third. And then I had the Dallas Stars, Colorado Avalanche, and Minnesota Wild in the other division as the top three, and Kraken and Jets as my wild card teams. Biggest kind of hits on those were, like, I hit on, Colorado, Dallas being in there. I missed, like, Minnesota's turning it around a little bit, so I'm not done on them yet. Edmonton, they're starting to turn it around, but they're certainly not first. I had Winnipeg in the playoffs, but I would never have thought they're as good as what they are this year. They look amazing. They haven't had a game where they allowed more than 3 goals in like a month and a half. It's a crazy stat. Crazy stat. They're so good defensively. My biggest miss would probably have been Vancouver. I had them out of the playoffs, and they're certainly going to make playoffs, it looks like. So, all in all, like Arizona too is right in there. I had them out of the playoffs, but I had them as a bit of a surprise team this year. They're still out of the playoffs now, but they're right in the hunt along with the Kraken. So, still some movement's going to be happening there.
Let's get Mullet Arena packed for a playoff game.
Could you imagine? That place would be crazy. Kijo, your predictions in the West looked similar.
Yeah, I know we were all pretty similar. I think Minnesota, again, they're just, I said this before, but have them in third. They're, my opinion, a boring team to watch, but they seem to always get it done, and they're a little bit lower, but I think you mentioned they'll make up some ground. And then the Flames I had in, that's probably one of my misses too. They're not doing as well as I thought they would. I didn't think Huberdeau would just not score. That wasn't on my radar, which kind of in the back of my mind I thought about when Willie signed his contract, because Huberdeau got his from Brad Tree Living. So that's always in the back of my mind. But no, in terms of the predictions, they did all right here. I think the funniest one is looking at the Coyotes too. Had them lower, and they're in a decent spot. But yeah, the Canucks, same as you, Falks. Had them in 10th, and they're in first. That's wild.
Yeah, there's surprises like that every year, but it just blows me away still that they've made that much of an improvement over just a one-off season, where they're now firmly first place in the Pacific Division, which is really impressive for them. Roy, your picks as well here.
I had kind of lost hope on the Wild, so I just had to look at the standings there, and so they're 13th here, but that spread to the second wild card spot for them is also only 5 points. So even like it's still pretty congested there for the wild card spots too, with the other teams that are ahead of them. So
Mhm.
I was kind of out on them, but
Yeah,
I'd say
and
they
since
still got a chance,
their
but
coaching
they still got a
change,
chance.
yeah, their new coach too. Since then, it's been a little bit better. It's they got Wallstedt coming up too. He's
He's playing his first game tonight,
Yep,
so
that'll be
we'll
big.
see. He's pretty good in the AHL.
Yep.
That one hurts a bit as a Wings fan. Them taking Kosa over Wallstedt.
And a Sens fan, we took Tyler Boucher over Wallstedt. That's even worse. But no, it looks like we all somewhat hit on one
West
thing.
is the worst for sure. I got Calgary in third, and then Vegas in the wild card.
Yeah,
And then
Vegas.
I had a tough West.
Vegas is in second right now, so they're looking decent. They're looking solid. They had that really hot start, obviously.
I was really low in the Preds too, and they got the first wild card.
And they're in there as well. So one thing we all did hit on was San Jose and Chicago being at the bottom. We got that right. So Kijo, you had
The
San
biggest
Jose,
locks.
San Jose,
Biggest locks.
Chicago, Arizona at the bottom, and I had, what was it? It was San Jose, Anaheim, and Chicago at the bottom. So there's still some time, obviously, for those teams to swap, but yeah, we all knew they were going to be bad, so we got that right.
Look at it again in May.
Yep, we'll revisit that again down the road. See how. Again, what was the bet too? It's 1 point if they make playoffs and we guess them to make playoffs, and it's 3 points if we guess their position correctly.
Exact position, yeah.
Exact position, and that goes for the teams that are outside of the playoffs as well too, right?
Yeah, every slot.
Yep, every slot. All right.
You look at it too, the differential. Like Chicago's second last with minus 58 goals for, or goals against, I guess, and then San Jose is minus 90. Like that is wild. Like 12 losses in a row. Just it would be so tough to be a Sharks fan.
Oof, that's bad. That's like they're getting. Did you see the Detroit Pistons? No, it's not hockey, but NBA. They broke the record for most losses consecutively. It was like 27 games in a row. They lost.
Except they beat the Raptors.
Then they beat the Raptors to break that streak.
Go Raps.
That was right when the Raptors made that trade, though. So it was kind of they didn't have guys in the lineup, but still, it was can't be losing to the Pistons.
Yeah, that's San Jose's getting there. 12 straight losses. So yeah, we'll revisit these at the end of the year, but still some time for some movement, and hopefully the Sens can move themselves up the standings into a wild card spot for my prediction's sake. So we'll see that. So yeah, in some other news too, we had the World Juniors that happened over Christmas. I don't know if you guys caught much of that, but USA was just an outstanding team. They had 10 first-round picks on their team, and they go on to win gold pretty easily against Sweden as well. So Canada with the early exit in the quarters. What was your thoughts on that, Kijo?
I mean, I'm never a huge fan of seeing USA run the table and not lose it all and take home gold, but you kind of knew even before the tournament Canada wasn't going to be as strong as they've been in the past. I think the amount of talent they have, though, you can never make an excuse. Like, Canada's always been good at the World Juniors, and they weren't bad, obviously. I don't know, that goal, you guys see that game? I forget what defenseman it went off of, though, where Czechia scored, and it was just like such a fluke goal to put Canada out, and I don't know, it was just not good really from the start, and I didn't have the most confidence, but seeing USA win definitely makes it hurt a little more. But I don't know, seeing Czechia win bronze, that's all right. I like seeing those because that team's been getting better too, because they lost to Canada in the gold medal the year before, and it used to be just like USA, Canada, and then Sweden and Russia started to get better. I know Russia wasn't in the tournament this year, but seeing more countries become more competitive, it makes for a more exciting tournament. So I'm excited for that in the years to come, the other countries getting better.
It's good. It's a good sign the game's growing. Did you see Czechia too this year in the bronze medal game? They were down 5-2 to Finland, and one of the guys on Finland was like mocking, kind of like laughing at a guy from Czechia when they're up 5-2, and then it showed that same player after they had lost, and he's like just like sitting along the boards like with like tears in his eyes, and it's like just whoever laughs last laughs the best, and Czechia definitely got the last laugh in that game, and yeah, good for them that they came third. So that was.
I love seeing teams too. Like Latvia won a game, so they weren't like relegated or whatever. And I watched them like their celebrations after winning one like round robin game, and they're just going nuts in the dressing room. Like I love seeing that.
Yeah.
I remember when they won. Was it last year? I think they won bronze at the World Championships or something, and like they shut down the country for a day because they won. Like, and they won bronze. Like I don't know, but it's good to see.
Yeah. Did you see Germany almost got relegated too? They were
They went in overtime.
Yeah, they won in overtime against that. Like that is cutting it close.
I think it was Norway, right?
Yeah, against Norway. Yeah, which is like.
Well, even they put up a fight against some teams too. So it's good because you're not seeing those like 11-1 games all the time anymore.
Yeah.
Which would be half of like the round robin, right? Is so.
Yep.
So yeah, that's good. Kind of want to have Russia back in the tournament. Like,
yeah, another powerhouse in the tournament. Yeah, that'd be good.
And you see some of those prospects that you never do anywhere.
Right.
Like you don't see them anywhere the rest of the year, right? So
right,
it's kind of cool.
Yeah, and they had always had a good rivalry too with Canada in the tournament.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah.
No, it's always a fun tournament to watch. So we'll
especially because like the biggest game aside from like the medal rounds is always like the New Year's Eve game.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing this year there was Canada versus Germany, it was like, oh, like okay, it's not the biggest deal.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a big win for U.S. though. They had an all-star lineup. One analyst was like, "This is the best, could be the best World Junior team that has been a part of the tournament, just because of how good they were. Like they didn't lose all tournament." They won big in the gold medal game. They had 10 first-round picks, and then the rest of them were like second and third-round picks. Like they were nasty this year, and yeah, it's that means just even the game in the U.S. is growing as well too, which is tough if you're Canadian. So
that's surprising because like Sweden shut out the opponents in the first 3 games in that tournament.
Yeah.
So I thought that they were on track to win it, honestly. But yeah, I think that U.S. is definitely passing Canada, I think, for prospects.
Yeah.
They got the top end ones, obviously, with Canada still, but like U.S. their development is clearly better than Canada's at this point, I would say.
Yep. So
What'd you guys think of the USA celebrating there when they beat Sweden and they're blowing kisses to the fans and stuff?
I liked that. They're kids and they're just having fun, so they're young guys out there just in the moment, heat of the moment, and it's I didn't mind it. That's fine. So yeah, it was a good tournament though overall, and we had the All-Star announcements back to the NHL. Those All-Stars were announced the other day. One from each team in the NHL. The Leafs representative is going to be Austin Matthews. Sens representative is going to be Brady Tkachuk. For your wings, Rory, you got Mr. Alex DeBrincat, the ex-senator.
What? Really?
He's yeah.
I actually didn't know who was announced. So this is
We had like some other surprise ones for first-time All-Stars, included Frank Vetrano from Anaheim, who's been outstanding this year. We had like Lindholm from Calgary, his first All-Star appearance. Bedard, Jake Ottinger, it's actually his first appearance as well. Boone Jenner. One that was kind of surprising too, well, not surprising, he deserves it, but Sam Reinhart from Florida as well gets the nod. Robert Thomas and Bjorkstrand from Seattle. All those guys, their first All-Star games this year. So
if you get hurt, like Bedard did, Is that what you're gonna say, Rory?
I was gonna go there. Is who do you think's going instead of Bedard from who's going
Yeah, like Nick
from
Foligno or
Chicago? Yeah,
Peter
Corey,
Mrazek.
Corey
Like,
Perry.
what happens there?
yeah.
Yeah,
Corey
that's
Perry's
like
going.
I honestly have no idea who they would send. Not a clue. Like San Jose's bad, like we were talking about earlier, but they at least they have a few bigger names, like I don't know Hoffman or Granlund, Duclair. Like there's guys that could go and okay, like
Hurdle,
you can see it, but I don't know who's going from Chicago with no Bedard.
Yeah, it's they got to do somebody like a defenseman or something.
The old reliable Seth Jones.
Yeah,
Just taking it.
yeah, picking him based off his name.
Yeah.
So, no, it's yeah, and some other surprises too. Well, Suzuki's going from the Habs, his third All-Star game. He's been good this year. Crosby,
Been the to the All-Star game 3 times. Is he in your eyes like a 3-time All-Star for consecutive years? I'm pretty sure.
When you're on the Habs, yeah.
But like, what about Caulfield? Like Caulfield's pretty good. You think that? I know Suzuki's the captain and everything, but like, I don't know. You think when I think All-Star, I think like sniper, and I think Caulfield's like a good goal scorer. Not that Suzuki isn't again, but I don't know. Three All-Star games for him. I don't know if there's any Habs fans watching, but
he missed most of last year, I think, Caulfield, and then I think he missed part of the year before even.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't remember, but
yeah,
I would say that's definitely a good point. He's probably due. So it's like fan vote for the rest of them, right? And then they do the draft for the teams after that, I think, right? So I saw that Nylander's leading the fan votes, probably deservingly so.
Yeah. So, in terms of it's already Brady Tkachuk's 4th All-Star game as well. It's Crosby, he's going as well. It's his 6th. Matthews, it's his 5th. And Connor McDavid is already his 7th All-Star game. His 7th
You
All-Star
can't like
game.
not send him. You can't not send David. Like there's no situation.
He deserves it. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
but what
should
about a
try
guy
and
like
mock up
Draisaitl? Always number 2 to him, like
Yeah. Well, that's like Malkin.
That's tough.
It's the same thing. It's
Yeah.
just Malkin.
yeah.
Malkin 2.0. We
Yeah.
should try and do the mock teams. We should do the draft.
The mock
Yeah.
draft on what, NHL?
No, for the All-Star teams. 'Cause they
Oh my, yes, because the new format this year, yeah.
yeah.
Well, back to the new old format where they're picking their teams.
Yeah.
That's going to be awesome. I can't wait to see that. That's
It's gonna be
great.
funny too when Draisaitl's sitting at home and then somebody's got to draft Peter Mrazek.
Yeah. They should just send Bedard's mom to the All-Star game. That would be... She'd be taken early in that draft. So,
Oh, that's funny.
yeah. So that'll be great to see, actually. I'm looking forward to this All-Star game. It's in Toronto this year, too. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be a good one, I think. So, yeah,
Aren't you're gone for that though, no folks?
Yeah, I'm out of town that weekend. So, otherwise I would consider going. Like, I'm still gonna watch though. I'm still gonna watch it and still gonna.
An hour drive for us.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, that'll be a good one. So, and not often too is it within driving distance. So, it's worth going. It is. So, yeah, that's the All-Star talk there. Bedard obviously not going. He's hurt, injured 6 to 8 weeks because he's got a glass jaw. Can't put a fishbowl on apparently.
That's a crazy one. Yeah, I've never heard of that. I figured that'd be a week or 2 thing. Then you come back and you're just wearing a cage.
I'm pretty sure he had surgery on his jaw as well too. It was something that needed surgery. But
Did you see what happened? Did he get hit by a shot or did he get hit?
It was just a hit, and to me, like it just looked like a normal play. Like it was one of those ones he probably just got like more of like a shoulder to the jaw, I guess. But when you watch it in real time, it doesn't look crazy or anything.
yeah, that's tough though. Do you think he's still going to be able to win Rookie of the Year if he's out for this amount of time?
I guess like who's second to him right now?
It'd be
I
like
was gonna look at the
Marco Rossi's up there.
Fantilli too.
Maybe Fantilli. Yep. Could be Perfetti as well from Winnipeg. He's been really good this year. But yeah, I think those are the main guys that you're looking at. Joseph Wall would have been in the conversation. But no, I think those are the guys you're considering over him. So it's like, does he come back and still perform for enough time that it warrants him winning? I'm not sure. That's like, I would like to see him still win it. I hope he does come back and then tears it up enough that people will say, oh, even though he missed this amount of time, like, yeah, it was surgery on a broken jaw. So even though he missed this amount of time, maybe he can still earn that Calder, because that'd be pretty nice.
Ooh, Luke Hughes, even too.
Luke Hughes, yep.
Rossi, Fantilli, Hughes are really the only ones that could challenge him.
I was looking at it too, though. Do you think it has anything to do with, like, I know it's most of the time it's like most points, best rookie. It's got not a lot to do with your team, but like Connor Zary has 21 points and he's a plus 13, whereas Bedard has 33 points and he's a minus 22. Like, it's not like Calgary is a stellar team.
Mm-hmm.
And he's taken, like, he's on the first power play. Like, he made the jump right away. He was on like a 3-game point streak as soon as he came up. He's been really consistent, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's also why I hate plus minus too, because Bedard's got that even more of a minus just because he's on the ice at the end of the game when his team's losing, typically because they're a weaker team, and then he gets scored a goal or two a game if they have an empty net and they pull him twice in one game. Sometimes he's on the ice. There's -2 right there just at the end of the game. It'd
be nice if there's a modified version of it, because like Zary's not playing on a good team either necessarally. So hearing that he's in the positives.
But is he on the ice at the end of the game when the goalie's pulled? Like, it's tough. It is. Plus minus can be misleading, but man, I was looking at guys from Winnipeg. They got the best plus minus in the league right now. If you have a guy in fantasy from Winnipeg, he's got to be at least like plus 10 right now, because they haven't had a game where they've given up more than 2 goals in like a month and a half.
Another stat is that they've allowed the least amount of 5-on-5 goals. And that was like around Christmas time though, so
they're playing so well, and that's another surprise team too this year. Like, they're leading the league. They're in first place right now. That's just impressive. So
good. Sell out that arena again.
Yeah. One final topic before we wrap up. We already kind of chatted about it quickly, but that was the Jamie Drysdale trade to Philly it was Drysdale in a second for Cutter Gauthier, which was, I guess Cutter Gauthier was the one who requested the trade. He didn't want to be in Philly anymore, even though they drafted him last year, hadn't played a game, but said, I want out, and that's kind of the return they get back. And honestly, I think that's a great return for Philly. They get a NHL-ready defenseman, plus a second-round pick, and it's a guy that can help them now. And they're in a position apparently this year where they're actually in a playoff spot. Like, I think that's a great pickup for Philly.
Yeah, I think that's what's key, the position that they're currently in. Like, I think he really could help them now, and I don't know. It's funny when you see players do this. Like, I think Jimmy Vesey did this too, right? He was gonna go somewhere, and he just said no. Like, I'm not going to play there, and like, I feel like a few years ago, as little as like 5 years ago, or you never saw this happen.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It is interesting to see these players who have 0 games experience think that they can just tell a professional organization that they're just not going to come and play.
Yeah.
Because that is crazy. That's crazy to me. But Cutter is actually doing really well too. He's in the NCAA right now. He's tearing it up. So he should still be a really good player. And he was just picked 5th overall 2 years ago, right? So no, it's cool seeing these young players get swapped, because you just never see it. And from the Ducks side, I actually get it, because Minyukov, another rookie, is playing really well. So like, okay, maybe they feel confident that this guy can take the leap and play that first power play, and he could take that step. And they've got, you remember that Canadian defenseman, the small guy who played last year the World Juniors. Is Olin Zellweger coming? They got him coming too, and they're supposed to have that Luneau play for Team Canada on the World Juniors this year, and he would have been their best defenseman. So the Ducks are that defensive, just always coming through with defensemen. They're always coming up. They're always drafting defensemen really well, so they got a lot in the pipeline. So they've just felt that they could afford to give them up. So
Yeah, I like that. One final kind of little quote, or I guess question for you, Kijo. I was kind of saying how, the Leafs are going to be in the playoffs this year again, just kind of basically saying that they've already made it. They're only 3 points up right now, but they do have a few games in hand. Are you concerned at all about them possibly missing playoffs this year?
Not one bit.
Not one bit.
Not
You
a
think they're
chance.
in for
No.
sure?
Yeah, and like I'm saying that without they've got their third goalie playing every game right now. Like I still think they're just too much offense firepower. Like they'll be in for sure. Not a doubt in my mind.
I would say they're looking good. Like I would say probably like a 90 to 95% chance I would give them for making playoffs as well. I was just wondering that because we had Zachy Tack watching, and he was questioning whether or not Leafs should make it or not, or whether or not they are a shoo-in to make it. So it's
I feel like, yeah, I guess like the more you think about it, a shoe-in, I think, if you think about it that way, is like, I don't know, if Matthews and Marner go down for 3 months or something, like that, I guess you could have that discussion. But where they are right now, like, barring any major injuries, I think they're for sure in.
Yeah, and anything can happen. Obviously, injuries can always happen. But I agree. With the guys they got now, and I just don't see anybody kind of surpassing them really. So it's I think the Leafs will be fine, and I'm surprised too actually because like you said they got their third string goalie playing right now. So it's surprising to see them. I'm also surprised about this year the Islanders a little bit. They're still in the wild card spot. Like Tampa certainly hasn't fallen off. Like if you told me this year that Ottawa would be where Tampa is and Tampa would be where Ottawa is, I would have been less surprised. Because remember at the start of the year, Tampa had Vasilevsky hurt. They were struggling.
Tampa last.
If Tampa was last and Ottawa was in that second wildcard spot, I would be more surprised to see how it is now than how
He can keep his face straight on that one.
if Ottawa was in the wildcard spot. A lot of people had Ottawa in the wildcard spot, making playoffs, predicting them to win rounds in playoffs this year.
Well, a lot of people had that because all you follow is Sens fan pages, so I think they're gonna throw them in.
That's coming straight from the mouth of Craig Button, predicting the Sens to go to the brainwashing all of our
You're
fan
stuck in
base.
The Sens Twitter echo chamber.
We should have known. I'm done believing. I need to see it before I believe it from now on because team has just been awful this year from top to bottom. Like we fired our coach, thank goodness, and it's DJ Smith gone didn't make a difference. It's still the same brutal team that blows leads heading into the third period like they did against Calgary the other night. So it's like I'm not protesting them right now. That's how bad they've been.
Come over and cheer for the Wings. Do it before it's cool again.
Yeah. Exactly. So yeah,
I have one final thought too.
Yeah, go ahead.
Have either of you watched any of the PWHL games?
Yes, I caught the opening night. Just like
Yeah, it was pretty cool, like the introductions they did and everything. Like, and I was thinking it would be so fun to do a fantasy league like we do now with the women's league, like going through a draft, like who would like the top 5 picks be, and it would be cool to do that.
It's so perfect that they have a league like this now. Like this is exactly what has been needed for hockey. And
Yeah,
it's
and deserving, for
perfect.
sure.
It's perfect.
I heard from somebody who actually works at CBC the other week that they're not continuing Hockey Night in Canada. It's just too expensive for them to like keep those rights for Saturday night. So I don't know who's taking it, but apparently that's ending this at the end of this year. And yeah, they're picking up CBC's picking up the Women's League for next year in place of that, so they still get their hockey coverage.
They should do like a joint thing where they do like
Yeah, I was gonna say that too.
That'd be cool.
Because like I hate to see Hockey Night in Canada go, but the fact that they're picking up the women's coverage is awesome. But they should do Hockey Night in Canada with the Women's League. Like that would be sweet too.
It might.
Yeah. So it'd be good to see. It would be good to see. And they got I think the U18 Women's World Championships going on right now as well too. So that's it's been it's been good. So that's good for the league. That's good for hockey, and it's really great to see. So yeah, glad you brought that up. So yeah, that kind of ends off our episode for today. You guys have any other final thoughts?
Covered a lot there. There's a lot to catch up on. So lots of exciting stuff though too. So
yeah, it's gonna be
All
nice
I can
to
think about is Willie, fellas. 8 years. Go to bed every night knowing he's a Leaf for 8 years. I'm good with that.
8 more years of not making it to the third round of playoffs.
Okay, easy there, last place. We don't have to talk about it.
Yeah, that's right. Like I said earlier, don't take making playoffs for granted.
I respect your ability. I respect your ability to punch up.
Yeah. Keep swinging. Keep swinging.
Even though it's more difficult, keep swinging.
Yep, exactly. Yep. So it's a good episode today. Thanks everyone for listening. It's nice to get back into the routine of things. We'll be live every Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. And yeah, we'll see you next week. So thanks for tuning in. Between the Dots. We'll see you next week.